Have you ever stopped to think about why a tiny region like Dagestan, tucked away in the rugged Russian mountains, has become the epicenter of modern mixed martial arts? It's not just about wrestling or fighting skills, it's a story of grit, tradition, and a relentless drive to succeed. These fighters don't just win, they dominate, leaving fans and opponents alike in awe. But how did they get here? What's the secret behind their rise? Let's dig into the story of how Dagestanis took over the UFC, starting with the man who lit the spark, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib wasn't just a great fighter. He was something else entirely, something we hadn't seen before. Born in a remote village in Dagestan, his early years were defined by discipline and a level of training that most people can't even imagine. His father, Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, was a respected coach who molded Khabib into a fighter with unshakable focus. Wrestling bears as a child wasn't a gimmick. It was part of a training philosophy that emphasized toughness and adaptability. When Khabib entered the UFC, he wasn't looking for fame or glory. He was there to prove a point. His wrestling was suffocating, his ground and pound devastating, and his composure unbreakable. Fighters who stepped into the cage with him often looked like they had no idea what hit them. It wasn't just about technique, it was about imposing his will. Take UFC 229, for example. The fight against Conor McGregor wasn't just another title defense. It was a clash of worlds. Conor's flashy, brash personality versus Khabib's quiet, disciplined approach. The result? A one-sided beatdown that silenced the doubters and made the world take notice. Khabib didn't just win fights, he dismantled opponents, leaving no room for debate about who the better fighter was. But what made Khabib truly special was his mindset. He carried himself with humility and respect, both inside and outside the cage. Even at the height of his fame, he stayed grounded, never losing sight of the values instilled in him from a young age. And when he retired undefeated at 29-0, he left behind a legacy that paved the way for the next generation of Dagestani fighters. Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev wasn't just the next man up. He was the chosen one. Born in the same rugged mountains of Dagestan that shaped Khabib Nurmagomedov, Islam's journey to the top was forged in the same crucible of discipline, humility, and relentless training. From a young age, he trained under Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, Khabib's father, who was not just a coach but a visionary architect of Dagestan's fighting dominance. But Islam wasn't content to merely follow in Khabib's footsteps. He was determined to build his own path. Under the mentorship of Khabib and Abdulmanap, he refined his skills to become not just a replica of Khabib, but something more. Where Khabib relied on relentless wrestling pressure to break opponents, Islam took that foundation and added layers of precision, patience, and striking prowess. When Islam stepped into the UFC, he wasn't immediately viewed as a future champion. But as fight after fight unfolded, his dominance became undeniable. His wrestling remained as suffocating as Khabib's, but his stand-up game began to shine. He wasn't just a one-dimensional wrestler, he was an all-around fighter. High kicks, pinpoint punches, and exceptional head movement made him a threat wherever the fight went. Islam's composure in the octagon is what truly sets him apart. He doesn't rush. He doesn't make mistakes. Instead, he waits, calculating every move, waiting for his opponent to slip. And when they do, he pounces with a precision that leaves no room for recovery. His rise to the top wasn't without its challenges. Constantly compared to Khabib, Islam faced the burden of stepping out of his mentor's shadow. Every win, every move was scrutinized. Was he as good as Khabib? Could he ever surpass his legacy? But Islam handled the pressure with the same calm he displays in the octagon. He knew his time would come, and when it did, he delivered. Makhachev is not just a successor, he's a symbol of the evolution of the Dagestani school of mixed martial arts. With every fight, he pushes the boundaries of what's possible, proving that the legacy Abdulmanap and Khabib built is alive and thriving. But as dominant as Islam is, the question still lingers. Can he carve out a legacy that surpasses even Khabib? The story of Islam is still being written, but one thing is clear. This is only the beginning. The mysterious Khabib Nurmagomedov. In the world of MMA, few names evoke as much intrigue as Khabib Nurmagomedov. Standing at 6'1", with an unorthodox style that blended striking, grappling, and creativity, Khabib was a fighter who seemed destined for greatness. His fights weren't just contests, they were spectacles. Spinning kicks, flying knees, and seamless transitions on the ground made him a nightmare for anyone brave enough to face him. Zabit's career in the UFC was meteoric. He entered the featherweight division and quickly dismantled some of its toughest competitors. His dominance wasn't just about physicality, it was his fight IQ. Zabit could outthink his opponents, adapting to their strengths and exploiting their weaknesses. Yet, for all his brilliance, Zabit's career was tragically short. At the peak of his powers, he stepped away from the sport, leaving fans and fighters alike to wonder what could have been. Was it injuries, burnout, a desire for something beyond fighting? The reasons remain unclear, but the void he left is undeniable. What makes Zabit's story so compelling is the sense of unfinished business. He was a fighter who seemed several levels above his peers, yet we never got to see him reach his full potential. In his absence, his legend has only grown. Fighters speak of him with reverence, fans speculate about his greatness, and his name remains etched in the annals of MMA as one of its greatest what-ifs. The mystery of Zabit isn't just about what he could have achieved, it's about the legacy he left behind in such a short time. His fights were moments of magic, and even though he's gone, the impact of those moments will never fade. Emerging stars from Dagestan. Dagestan isn't just producing champions, it's building dynasties. Umar Nurmagomedov, cousin to Khabib, is one of the brightest lights of this new generation. Fighting in the bantamweight division, Umar's style is a mirror image of Khabib's, with a few modern refinements. His dominance is clear, his potential undeniable, and the question isn't if he'll claim a UFC title, but when. But Umar isn't the only rising star. Khabib Nurmagomedov, with his striking heavy approach, is breaking the mold of what a Dagestani fighter can be. While others rely on wrestling, Khabib thrives on his ability to deliver devastating stand-up performances. He's a different kind of monster, one who drags his opponents into brutal wars and walks away unscathed. His journey toward the welterweight title feels inevitable, yet he's taking it one calculated step at a time. This wave of Dagestani talent isn't just continuing a legacy, it's expanding it. Each fighter brings their unique twist to the traditional Dagestani style, proving that this isn't a one-dimensional force, but a movement evolving with every generation. Magomed Ankalaev. Magomed Ankalayev's journey to the top hasn't been without its challenges. His UFC debut was a bitter pill to swallow, a last-second loss after dominating the fight. But for Magomed, setbacks are merely setups for comebacks. Since that fateful night, he's gone on a tear, defeating top contenders and proving that he's one of the most complete fighters in the light heavyweight division. What makes Magomed so dangerous is his versatility. He can strike with precision, grapple with finesse, and control the pace of a fight with an almost clinical efficiency. His recent victories have placed him on the brink of a title shot, and his looming clash with Alex Pereira is shaping up to be one of the most anticipated battles in UFC history. Magomed isn't just fighting for himself, he's fighting to continue the Dagestani tradition of dominance, and if his trajectory is any indication, it's only a matter of time before he adds his name to the list of champions from this remarkable region. The Dagestani fighters have done more than dominate, they've redefined what it means to be unstoppable. From the rugged mountains where they were raised, forged by discipline and hardship, to the global stage of the UFC, they have proven that greatness isn't an accident, it's earned. Khabib Nurmagomedov's legacy is the foundation of this story, a blueprint for excellence that others like Islam Makhachev, Zabit Magomedsharipov, and Umar Nurmagomedov have followed. Each fighter brings their own twist to the Dagestani style, making it clear that this isn't just a fleeting era, it's a dynasty in the making. But here's the question: who, if anyone, can stop this wave of dominance? Can the rest of the UFC catch up, or are these fighters simply on another level? With every new contender from Dagestan, the gap seems to grow wider, leaving fans and analysts in awe. This story is far from over. With emerging stars like Khabib Nurmagomedov and the relentless Magomed Ankalaev, the future looks brighter and more intimidating than ever. As the sport evolves, Dagestani fighters are not just adapting, they're setting the standard. So what do you think about this extraordinary rise? Can anyone challenge their dominance? Or are we witnessing the creation of an unshakable legacy? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story captivated you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. The Dagestani saga is far from finished, and we'll be here to bring you every thrilling chapter. Stay tuned.